The word of the Lord this morning will come from the book of Deuteronomy. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I want you to look at something I think you'll find in the 28th chapter. If you're still looking for it, say, wait. I see y'all turning leaves, so I'm going to wait anyway. And as always, I do pray that you pray for me. This is not an easy job because there's a number of people in the sanctuary today, about 75 people. Each of you have a personality. And often people try to shoehorn their personality into yours or yours into them. We're all human, Mike. The gentleman that was sitting with you, tell him I noticed that the young lady that was on his lap was singing, "Come Let Us Adore." There she is, yeah. She was singing, "Come, I saw you singing, sweetheart." And it's amazing that sometimes people of that ilk can participate, and older people sat silently by. That 58th verse is where I want to begin reading. The chapter is 28, right? At 58, come on. We're going to read together. We slow down at commas, stop at periods. If you get to a word you can't enunciate, just words them. Nobody will know you don't know how to say it. And that way we can read this together. 1, 2, 3, read. If thou will not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuous and sore sicknesses, and of long continuous. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness, every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord your God. You can be seated. Too often, people like church and they only like encouraging words. Every now and then, a whipping is the best kind of medicine some of us need. I know, and as your leader, this is not the kind of sermon that I would prefer. But the Lord says every now and then we need to be reminded that there were some people before us who did just what we're doing. Everything else is important, including the economy and all of the things that we drive and dress and drink, all of our cruises and playstations, everything that we're doing. A person drove up on the parking lot the other day asking the church for some help. 4 kids in the car, and every one of them had a cell phone. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm looking at the lady, asked me, could she get help from us? She didn't know what to do with what she had. I guess she thought I didn't know what to do with what I had. And I told her, now the church could help you, but it will not, because your decision making is problematic. Sometimes that's hard. But the truth is, folk who love you have to tell you. Too many people want gimme. Gimme ain't a relative. Amen. Hard work is. Saving. I tell you all the time, people want to be rich, but they don't want to work. They want to be smart, but they don't want to read. And all of these things. They want to be in good health, but they don't ever want to walk and work out. And brothers and sisters, we have to be careful. My topic today is when life hangs in doubt. Some of you don't know how you're making it. I mean, life is hanging in doubt. You have invested in everything except that thing that is good for you. Have you ever noticed that how much doubt and negativity that circulates around all of the things that we do? And even we hold it about our own lives. We almost see everybody who we think is better than us. And you the best you that can ever be. You just need to continue to improve and not always be comparing yourself to somebody else. Just be the best that you can. Anybody need some reassurances? And that's why people are. Folk need to be reassured. You always hear what they're not doing, what they haven't been able to accomplish. But when you can tell people there's a gift inside of you, there's a treasure that lays inside of you, and you just need to encourage them to take a risk so that they can be successful. I tell you, God is well aware of our skepticism. Oh, yeah, he knows we have it about everything. The stove turn on, and all of a sudden you think it ain't working, but you forgot to pay the bill. You can help me with this. I tell you, in the text today, I want you to be sure that God made and knows everything about us. So here in this text, he comes before his chosen nation, Israel, and brings them face to face in what looks like a trial. You don't have to go to court to have a trial. You just need to judge like God. God can meet you in the dark, out of the way places and put you on trial right then and there. And brothers and sisters, the thing about God, he can come up with evidence from yesterday that you know might cancel your tomorrow. The children of Abraham are now confronted. They've been given alternatives, and they come because the outcome hinges on the choices that they're going to make after the trial. Making sense? See, sometimes God can point a finger at you. You point your finger at me. And he's trying to tell you something that may save your life, that may help elongate your career. But because you don't like the finger being pointed at you, you don't like the advice he's about to give you. He begins with a blessing. This is a confrontation. You get a chance, you can look verse 1 through 14. He confronts them every now and then. And sometimes those of you who grew up, some of y'all weren't born grown. And your parents had to kind of tighten you up, to loosen you up. And some of those things, when you look back on them, you have a better appreciation for them after it happened than while it was happening. And this is what the text is trying to tell us. Lord, help me preach this. The major portion of the debate is really judgment. Too often we like a long conversation. But notice the judge, he lets all of the lawyers give all of the conversation. All he does is give the verdict. And sometimes the trial lasts for 2 months, and the verdict lasts for 2 words. Not guilty. I wish I had somebody in here. And this is what I'm saying that God is trying to tell us, even in the Bible. We know that he is a mighty good God. But there are times we get so used to how good he is until we take advantage of him too. Let me see. Let me talk to this side. This side over here making enough noise. Y'all quiet over there. Hello. Let it not seem strange that God knew the hardness of their hearts. In the 5th chapter of this same book, Deuteronomy 29, he said, oh, how I wish they would fear me. That's God talking. He said, oh, how I wish I had put the spirit of fear in them, that they would not look at me and walk away. They would listen to me and still hear and understand and embrace what I was trying to say to them. He said, I wish they would obey all of my commandments so that I can make it be well with them and their children forever. Lord have mercy. So blessings were promised back through 1 through 14. It included political correctness. They didn't have to worry about strange enemies coming and taking what they had. They didn't have to worry about other armies being larger than theirs. They didn't have to worry about people having greater weapons than did Israel. Because if God be for you, somebody ought to help me. I mean, you've been in life where folk have run you down. They've talked to you. They took you off the easy street and put you on a dead-end street. But somebody came along and spoke a word into your life and said, God is not through with you yet. And things change, and all of a sudden, folks, how did you get that done? And you have to be able to tell them, I didn't do this by myself. But I know somebody. Come on, somebody ought to say, I know somebody who can change midnight in the day, who can change sorrow in the joy. Oh, help me, God. And this is what happens when life is in doubt. So I move on because their crops would flourish. God said, you put one seed in the ground, I grow up two things. Yes, instead of having one calf, he'll have two. God was trying to tell you, I can twin your blessings just like I can change your blessing. And then 8 to 12, he said, witnessing to the Gentiles, he wanted their crops to flourish. Sometimes God want to bless you so you can brag on him. Am I right, Elder Cheatham? That's how God is. Sometimes God will give you a better job so you can brag on him. Yeah, he can put you in a nice neighborhood. You know you don't deserve to be there. You ain't got no business working in there, let alone living in there. But the Lord can fix it so all of these things, Manisha, can happen to you, and you didn't have anything to do with it. And then as soon as somebody say, man, you so, out come you. I went to school. So did the janitor. He just didn't get a degree. Yeah, I stayed up all night. So did the guy under the bridge. Yeah, see, you start popping off of what you did. But if it had not been, come on, somebody, for the Lord who was, woo, I don't know where I'd be. Let me turn the corner. Israel obeyed not, and ultimately they failed in the mission. Obedience would have lifted them higher. That's what obedience will do for you, Brother Keith. It'll make things come out better. Stuff that's perplexing can be made plain when you turn it over to the Lord. Oh, yeah. And he said, he told them through verse 3 through 8, I can make you richer even if you ain't working. I was trying to understand, missionary, whether they had a lottery back then. Because that's what most folk want to be made rich without working. The only work is to go by. Y'all know them. And God's trying to tell us sometimes life just hangs in doubt. Brother Macklin, sometimes God just want to keep you safe. We don't appreciate, first of all, the safety. Because it would not matter what you owned or what you had if you weren't safe. Our world is troubled. Amen. Some people lie at the drop of the hat if their lips are moving. Come on. And everybody keep thinking that they ought to have free this and free that. And you know, we're born with the right. They said all men are created equal. It didn't say all men going to live equal. We have something to do with that. And so Moses had given Israel a detailed instruction. And that's what I love about the Lord, Elder Donald. He don't just leave it up to me to come up with what I need to know. He said he gave them detailed instruction from the Lord to the people. And the whole idea was to help them prepare for entry into the promised land. Now watch this. God had already made the promised land before he made Israel. And some of your blessings God has already made before he made you. But he's trying to grow you up and mature you so you'll quit blaming somebody else for your problem. Hello, you remember in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve did something they shouldn't have done. When they got there, he asked Adam, why did you do this? He says, her fault, because you shouldn't have given her to me. See that? Then he asked her, what did she say was the devil you kicked out of heaven? He said, I didn't give the devil any instruction about not eating off of a certain tree. I gave it to you. And some of us hear what we shouldn't do, and as soon as we get through hearing it, what do? Y'all know us, don't you? Yes, the whole idea was to prepare. But the two-letter word if. Where my Deacon Garden Lawson? He know that if is a word that is pregnant with possibility. If my uncle was actually my aunt, she'd sit down instead of standing up. Y'all will catch that. And so that this word jumped out because the nation, like a new sharpened sword, only wanted to cut their own throat. It was ready to fall upon Israel when they lost a battle at a place called Ai. They went, they had jumped on, all they did was march. What did he say? Just march around. Y'all know, just march around. He said, don't take no sword, don't take no stick, no stones, just march. Just go around so many times. They didn't realize 2.4 million people is 4.8 pairs of feet. And they could just march around and just soften up the soil as they was marching. And on the seventh day when they went around, the soil was soft. And then God told Joshua, tell them march away from the wall. And when they say that's even farther, they say, yeah, but the walls need a place to fall. And the walls came tumbling down. Sometimes God can give you instruction and you trying to understand it before you obey it. But if you just take him at his word, lean not to you. Come on, but in all your ways, he will. Tell your neighbor, he will. Oh, Lord. Well, let me see. I'm going to cut across here on some of this. The word if still hung over their lives. And today it's hanging over the human race. Listen at what America's saying. If the Democrats get in charge, we're going to get more taxes. And then the Republicans are saying, Democrats are saying to the Republicans, yeah, but if y'all get in charge, more rich folk going to get breaks. Now watch, you see. Now everything in life, whether y'all like it or not, ought to be balanced. Too much of anything will make you sick. And I keep hearing people talk about politics. Listen at the definition of poly is many and ticks is the insect. See, y'all hadn't paid any attention to it. That's what government is. It's full of insects. And people who are there, they make rules that benefit them. Y'all don't like me today. I'm sorry I'm not your normal politician. I'm depending on God. That's who I'm voting for. And when I go to court, I ain't going to plead innocent or guilty. I'm going to plead the blood. So he says now, will we catch up or get well or get caught or get away? That's what most folk are thinking. They're trying to figure that out. If. That's a siren for me. My blood pressure is higher. You're worried about getting fired. Are my kids okay? Is the teacher a pedophile? You got all them questions creeping across your brain. And God is trying to say life seems to be hanging in doubt. Let us make the matter more personal. Let's bring it home to us. The thing that they were true of Israel as a nation is also true of America an individual. Our chief problem is often us. I know U.S. stands for nation, but us can also stand for you and me. Our problem is sometimes we taste defeat and get used to how it smells. We fail and don't want to be successful. The man under the bridge was once a college graduate, had a good job, but didn't do the right thing by other people, and it has been removed. And even if you ask him, it's somebody else's fault. And so, my brothers and sisters, we turn the corner because things are just not right. We play with stuff we ought to be serious about. We ought not tell our children jokes and put them in the front of cartoons because people become what they consume. We ought to not feed them so much junk food and then won't figure out why they full of junk. That's what you've been feeding them. We lie at the drop of a hat. We promise things that we cannot fulfill. We don't do what's right with what's right, and then wonder why we get left because we wasn't doing what was right. So, brothers and sisters, the great judge in heaven will determine my failure based upon whether I obey or deny his instructions. Tell your neighbor, watch how you treat God. At the start, we honestly refuse to accept responsibility. It's rightfully been laid in our hands. You are in charge of you. You may not like that, but you are. The wise men of the earth have always recognized that truth. The writer, one of my favorites, Shakespeare, penned in his play Herodotus. All right, what he said is the destiny of man is hidden in his own soul. But when he wrote the play, he even penned a different kind of understanding when he said, Cassius told Brutus, the destiny of man is hidden in his soul. Yeah, but the fault, my dear friend Brutus, is not in the stars, but within ourselves. Shakespeare said, to thine own self. We lie to us first. Come on. You got to tell yourself you're going to get away with it when you try to do it. I know y'all don't like me, but I'm doing the best I can. As long as we stand in our own way, everything will seem like it's against us. We blame our family when it ain't my family, it's me. Everything I've ever done wrong is all me. I can't blame anybody else for me messing up. But too many folk keep thinking it's somebody else's fault. Y'all help me. I'm trying to head out of town now. I am. I'm trying to get where I'm going. And so the idea is that everything is not against you. I have folk who come to this church think the church ought to do more for them. I thought I'd get more amens right there, because some folk think the church owe them. Hey, talk to me. Everybody get in debt. They go on a cruise, then want me to pay the light bill. Yeah. I can figure out a better way for you to get some retirement, some rest than a cruise. Because if you're on the boat, you ain't sleeping. You're walking. You're sailing. You're cruising. You're looking. You're nosy. Hello? I can give you some other ways to try to help yourself keep your money in your pocket by keeping your brains in your head. You think it's your employer. You think it's the government. It's always somebody else. And the problem is really, Proverbs 14:12 said, there's a way that seems right to a man, but the end of thereof is the way of death. Adam and Eve blamed somebody else for their decisions. And brothers and sisters, it takes real courage for us to understand spiritual insight just to face yourself. There's a story about a lady took all the mirrors down in her house. And somebody said, do you have a mirror? She said, no, I removed them all. I got tired of looking at me. Hello? And sometimes you can see the ugly side of you and you'll get tired of looking at you. And if we look at the root cause of our troubles instead of looking around for somebody to blame, some scapegoat, we ought to be able to take giant steps forward when we realize that I'm the one that's causing me the heartache. I'm going to continue, but I'm about done. The life that hangs in doubt is usually one that belongs to people full of alibis. Once again, the ancient story of Adam and Eve is as modern as the day's newly paper. That same story is the one that you see in modern movies. Everything that we see is still mirrored in that first sin. Said that each one of them failed to keep the commandment, didn't want to listen to what God had to say, got to the place that they didn't even want to have conversation one with the other. They were filled with 4 words, it's not my fault. And the plain assumption today is because the excuses we make is that we can discover an alibi. And the alibi will always be outside ourselves. We can't escape the responsibility for being the way we are. President Lincoln had a soldier they brought to him that had a string of dissatisfactory performances. And when Lincoln interviewed the soldier, the man gave so many excuses until the president said that the soldier had a disease called "I can't help myself." And churches today are filled with members that suffer from the same disease. Oh, Lord. And people on the job are late because of traffic, not because they got up late. People down at City Hall don't know what your problem is. Take a number and we'll call you in a few minutes. Am I right about it? They don't have enough help down at the pharmacy. And that's why pills are not always what's on the prescription. You couldn't read it because it was written in Latin. And the pharmacist can't read it because he's too busy, because he don't have enough help. Am I right about it? Your meal is not right when it comes from fast food, because they cooked it too fast or put it together too quick and put it in the wrong paper. And there you are thinking you eating a cheeseburger, and it's actually all a fish sandwich with the fish ain't fully fried. That's what happens when life hangs in doubt. Come on, somebody. You ought to help the preacher today. Yeah, sometimes things don't work right because it wasn't right when you started. Therefore, it can't end right because it began wrong. And when you can love people just because they're human beings, you will know that God can love you. After all, He made you and know all about you. If you don't believe me, tell yourself, I'm handmade. I am His. He is mine. Yeah. I'm going to have to hurry and get out of here. I look at folk today, and we're so filled with disease. We're late and selfish. Won't pray and won't praise. No, won't even join no auxiliary. Ain't coming to no prayer meeting, but mention business meeting. Everybody want to know where the money going when they're not giving any. Yeah, no Bible study. Come on, somebody. Yeah, we say we are members of the church, but we don't participate in nothing but the entertainment side. Well, we got to stop using alibis. We got to change our way and take responsibility, because brothers and sisters, life can hang in doubt. You're not sure about it, Mike. Somebody asks you what you think. I don't know. I don't know. Let me look at it a little longer. What you think now? Give me time. Come on. Don't rush me. The truth is, you're in doubt. Come on. Your whole life is filled with doubt. You don't know whether you should go or stay. You don't know whether you should come or go. Do you sleep or do you pray? Do you rest? Do you eat? What do you do? This is what life has become for us. We need somebody else to make the decision so we can blame them when it don't work out the way we want it. And this is what this text is trying to tell us today. Come on, say, get through, Pastor. You can say it. If we look at our lives and notice there is little spirituality, even in worship. We come, we let y'all sing. We fold our arms and rock with you. Don't know, you ain't singing. I don't know the words of that song. Hello, they ain't singing my favorite song. Yes, the man, it means that we need to be honest with God. First, tell your neighbor first, declare before him that we have been negligent in our duties. And the fault finding actually rests with me. If you are a sinner, ask him to change that status. Ask him today, right now. He can and free all of us from disease. He can free you from the disease of, I can't help myself. He will set you free from nagging excuses and free you from the life of small-minded things. to cover up your wrongdoing. And then in the end, he will give you a new life, assure you of salvation. Come on, set your eyes on Jesus. Come on, tell your neighbor you ought to keep your eyes on him. He got his eyes on you, watching everything you do, every word that you say. He's concerned about you, enough to make enough air on this day for everybody to breathe. Ain't nobody said there's a shortage of air. And if you really need some for your tire, you got to pay for that. But God don't charge you for the air he makes for you in the whole world in which you live. Somebody ought to say, thank you, Jesus. You ought to hear his words. You ought to study his words. You ought to look at his life and then wonder how it is that he made it. He came without anything, born in another man's stable, grew up in another man's town. He walked another man's streets, went to another man's school. He read another man's book, died for another man's sin, buried in another man's grave, and rose for another man's justification. And one of these days, he coming back for another man's liberation. Shout, yeah, yeah. He's so good. He's sweet. Too much of him won't give you diabetes. He's seasoned like pork, but too much of him won't give you high blood pressure. And you can have enough sense that with Jesus, you can't lose your mind. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. Grab your neighbor by the hand. But the master of the sea, he heard my faintest cry. From the water lifted me. Now safe am I. Love. Somebody ought to help me. I say love. Yeah. Love lifted me. Anybody here? The Lord love. Raise your point of view. Yeah. 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 Oh, I tell you, he's all right. So when life hangs in doubt, you got to give yourself in commitment to him. Too many of us want him to come, and he's already been watching how obedient you are in the small things. Oh, yeah. He's been watching. He already knows that you have not committed to him in the simplistic things. Because salvation is a complex thing. Because we cannot understand how it is another man can die and save me from dying. Look like I have to go through the same thing he went through. But you got to see salvation is a complex thing. How you can be changed in the moment, twinkling of an eye. Went to a meeting one night, moment of twinkling of an eye. And he can change your set of circumstances. And you just have to believe. He's able to do anything if you can believe it. And you just have to believe. You don't have to understand it. And that's one of our problems. We're always trying to understand something. Explain that to me again. He can tell you 1,000 times that they drove nails in his hand and I didn't have to feel the pain. That's what that's trying to say. He bore that other man's cross, borrowed that man's donkey, fished out of another man's boat, but caught food for that man. Took 2 fish, y'all know that, a male and a female, brought them back to life in his hand and multiplied it. That's the kind of God that you ought to turn your life over to. So if you're here today, you do not know Jesus in the pardon of your sin, your life is hanging in doubt. And so what we want to do, we want to issue Jesus Christ to you. We want to offer it to you. Come on, church, open them arms up and tell the visitors We open our arms to you.
We offer
That's what we want to
Christ
do.
to you.
Oh, my.
Oh, my sister, He will give
That's what He can do.
you new life.
He can give you a brand new life.
New life,
Life abundantly.
So
Come. If you're wounded and sad,
come on.
He'll be the best friend you ever had.
To Christ.
That's what we believe. It's why we do the things we do. That's why we go the distances to which we go. You've had people say to you, you know so-and-so don't like you. Why are you still trying to help them? You have to be able to say to people, if I don't help him, I can't ask him to help me. But if I help him, regardless of how he treated me, because one day I treated him bad. I mistreated him. I went my own way. I did my own decisions. But he found where I was. Cared enough about me till he followed me into a dead end. Hello? And then went back to the corner and posted a sign that said, posted, keep out. Until he changed me and brought me from a dead end to a thoroughfare. And that's what you have to believe about Jesus Christ. Don't try to understand him. Just instruction. Just obey him. So